Brokers of Reddit, how crazy is it where you work on the trade floor RN? My wife works for TDA, and she says the phone calls are 700 deep with hours-long wait times. Every risk management employee at every money manager was busy checking short positions to see how vulnerable those positions are. I have a feeling there's a lot of dishonesty in this thread, and I'm not sure which side it's coming from. I see it too. Trading floors don't exist anymore, at least not like you've seen them in movies. Those scenes of guys answering phones were people answering client calls to buy/sell stock. That is all but extinct. Any institutional investors with proprietary trading do so almost exclusively with models. If anyone left in finance is moving large amounts of stocks by their gut, it's because the power is so consolidated in one individual that there's no hectic scenes of papers flying and guys screaming around them, and they are most likely doing it on a computer screen. Trading floors nowadays look like cubicles sectioned into teams that contribute specific things. Most communication is done via Slack, and it's actually a pretty somber scene in times like these. It's just a bunch of stressed out people looking at screens. But again, even that hardly exists anymore. The scene of the most erratic hedge fund intimately trading in GameStop right now is probably 3 dudes crouched around a screen stewing and staring at a model. I would also like to jump in and say, as far as I'm aware, the trade floor craziness that is portrayed in the movies is really not a thing anymore. Most brokers just sit at computers and make phone calls and trade via computer etc. I know there's still a couple futures markets that have screaming, yelling etc, but that's all kind of a bygone era. Maybe I'm wrong. But as much as I'm sure people envision people yelling by GME 154, I don't even think that would be a thing anymore. LMAO, I thought this was Brokers of Reddit and was like, well, I have been summoned. I've been hearing lots of comments like how they've never seen this much attention on a single stock in decades, and that includes the com bubble. Retail trade volume has dramatically increased this year with no fee trades, along with many retail investors stuck at home, but this is beyond insanity. We like the stock. Phone rep here, absolutely crazy times. Hold times are through roof. We can't keep up with this pace. I work for one of the largest firms as a broker. Our hold times are longer than normal, back to 2 hours at most. Similar to April/May of 2020. Around half the portfolios I saw today had some meme stock in them. I've also received way more calls from people in their late 20s than usual. They usually need less tech support etc. Our company has restricted many stocks from being bought on margin/writing covered calls W/new shares purchased. Tons of new accounts. And there's a feeling of sticking it to the man. And that the stock market is just gambling. Edit. Also a lot of people shitting on Robinhood, which I find funny. Happy to answer any questions. I'm basically underpaid call center support. In your experience, what are some good investment platforms that 1. Don't have brokerage fees, 2. Have good UI, and 3. Have a call center? Keep in mind that this thread is used for propaganda. No idea which side is spreading misinformation, most likely both. But read every post, as it was written by a propaganda troll to manipulate the outcome. Brokers don't work on trade floors. They work in support call/chat centers and in normal dev environments. And largely from home. It's not crazy at all. Just higher support volume than normal. I work in web dev, but I do know that call volume was up 8x. Oh my god. So I'm not a broker and neither is my friend. But he's an intern for Fidelity, and he said they had at least 1,000 of people on hold today. I'm laughing my ass off, because I've been following the whole GameStop thing and I love this chaos. I was a trader, though in credit not equities, stocks. I do SWE/quant stuff now. But I have been chatting with a friend of mine who's a cash shares trader. So probably the closest thing to what you imagine when you say a broker. Apparently it's relatively chill. There's not much liquidity in these stocks, GME and others. Closed bracket comma. And so the consumer retail trader, there's only one nowadays, is pretty stressed about it, but nothing absurd. The rest of the guys don't trade these names, so nothing really out of the norm for them. March 2020, i.e. when COVID blew us up. was much crazier in my memory, though I'm on a different floor than equities where that stuff matters more. As others have pointed out, brokers don't really exist anymore. Trade floors do exist, but exchange floors, i.e. the floor of ness, are mostly a TV studio. Happy to answer questions if people have them. This whole thread is pushing an agenda of fear. The entire financial world does care about what is happening. Things will change after it, and the windfall of what is happening this month will affect Wall Street for years to come. Hedge funds have been overshorting stocks for a very long time. Would you say what happened when the housing market crash wasn't a big deal? These motherfuckers refuse to recognize what is going down. I'm no expert, but I know not to buy GameStop at $350. People who work on Wall Street don't think Wall Street is bad. Broker at a major firm made it through the whole day without it even being mentioned once. Edit because this got a lot of attention. This is likely not true for every part of my firm, and will probably change in the next few days. As far as I can tell, what happened won't have much effect on my job or my team. We'll just continue as normal. We may see something change over the next few days in the market, but what happened hasn't really trickled down just yet. I'm sure there's a team whose whole day was spent figuring out what is likely to happen next, and probably meetings between managers and or directors discussing it. Hedge fund manager. Wednesday was wild. Our PNL shot massively negative, flipped by noon to be massively positive, and ended small down. We don't even trade GameStop, but the shock to the stock is definitely seeping into other positions. Overall, we are delighted that .72 and possibly Citadel have lost money. We don't buy into the BS that the markets were manipulated in Citadel's favor, but right hand not fulfilling its role as a broker is a huge red flag and indicates their precarious financial viability. Tomorrow will be fun, but we expect February to be the real party. Lots of calls and loads of meetings. Very stressed managers asking to double check positions and coordinate with risk team to send out emails. I'm a floor broker on the New York Stock Exchange, and to be honest, it is kind of work as usual, but it's definitely the biggest topic of conversation. We definitely all have to take greater care when handling orders in these super volatile stocks because of the violent moves they have been making. There is fewer of us down there, and we all have to wear masks and follow the social distancing protocols, which make some of the unique things about the floor a little weirder. Though it is sort of interesting to see the wider world take an interest in market microstructure to unprecedented extent. FBI have been visiting the trading floor a couple of times this year. There was this guy who was crazy smart and made the company a lot of money. Only problem was that he was always drunk at 8 AM. Always. They let him go. Nicest dude in the building. Not surprised at the level of shill in this thread with what's on the line. Hold. None of these top comments are even mentioning what the hedge funds have lost so far, or the fact that free trading was shut down. This isn't a refined pyramid scheme. This is real. Sincerely, some retard using stash. Not a broker. Just someone who has actively traded options for years. Definitely a pyramid scheme, and the options market on this was crazy. Even the options market on this one didn't add up. Yesterday, when the stock was at $340, the March $500 call options were listed around $140. That means the stock would have to gain an additional $140 just to break even by late March. Anyone who didn't get in on the ground floor on this one are going to get crushed. Lots of people are going to get hurt and have nothing to show for it. People want me to invest their life savings in meme stocks like GME, AMC, BB. I tell them it's very risky and only invest how much you would be willing to lose. Regardless, I have seen people bet their financial lives on GME. I pray to God everyone who does this gets out before the stock falls below what they bought it for. I don't think the meme stock bubble is dead, but I think it's the riskiest area. Millionaires will be born, and millionaires will die from this. Personally, BB and AMC are probably your best bets right now. I'm not advising anyone to buy or sell based off this information. So yeah, bottom line, it's insane right now. Seconds can mean the difference in millions. And risk your money at your own discretion. TBH, it's a mixture of insanity, but I super admire what you guys are doing. The stress is worth seeing the little guy make good money. My boss is going crazy thinking he's gonna be rich. For the third time. He's already rich. Risk manager at a major firm here. This kind of action is actually not so unusual. Things were a lot busier last March and the losses arising from customers blowing through their capital and leaving us to cover the rest are much lower. I think what's most noticeable this time is the feeling that no matter how correct the decision you make is, it's going to be seen by a certain segment of the public as motivated by corruption or greed. I can't speak for what's going on at any firm in particular, but I can tell you I couldn't care less about the financial health of the hedge funds who are responsible for this mess. If my firm takes an action to restrict certain types of trading, it's because we have an obligation to reduce exposure to highly volatile securities, not because we are taking orders from someone with skin in the game. This is what we are trained to do, and we are liable to the agencies that regulate us if we fail to properly risk manage the situation. If I were a risk manager, I might be inclined to show up on Reddit and downplay the situation in an effort to, manage risk. But that's just me. Can you guys smell the arrogance coming from these brokers? Playing it off like it's no big deal. Bigger fish to fry. We don't give a shit. Nobody cares. This thing is a very big deal, just read the news. Several brokerage firms could go under. Many retail investors will walk away very rich. The main online brokerage app looks like it will die. The issue is being debated in Congress. Huge number of news stories. People hear it is nothing. I have a friend who's salty af about it. He had to go get my Series 6 and 7 and all these assholes in their parents' basements are just doing this for the lulz. This is my job.